Merlin held up a thin tome, its weathered cover bound in faded leather. He opened it with care, turning vellum pages covered in swirls of ink and unfamiliar scripts. Some of the glyphs shimmered in iridescent hues, and while Arthur didn't understand them, those held a strange familiarity. "What is it?" Lancelot asked. "A powerful spell from the days when the Fae still cooperated with human mages. The days before. They retreated to the Vale and no longer cared for meddling in mortal affairs. Magic such as this has been lost over the centuries. I have only the components for the single spell." Arthur didn't dare to hope. "Will it destroy a Titan?" Merlin looked up and met Arthur's gaze. "No, it will not. However, it will allow you one more chance to do what we failed to do before. As a boy, you weren't ready to lead this rebellion. As a man, you came into power too late to stop them. This is a way to rectify that." "Wouldn't that mean—" The thunderous quaking of the ground nearly shook the old wizard off balance, but Arthur caught him by the elbow and steadied him. Merlin had never been a frail fellow, but the long years of serving as the Resistance's advisor had aged him more than centuries of spellcraft. "Yes, it does, and we must hurry." Before Lancelot and Arthur's eyes, he set aside his staff and moved toward the open floor. "I can only do this once. You must not fail, Arthur." The act of drawing the circle alone appeared to exhaust Merlin. He held the chalk between spindly fingers with swollen knuckles, and his face wrinkled with consternation. Neither interrupted him. Arthur still hadn't accepted what their old friend and mentor expected of him. "It's impossible." With a groan, Merlin struggled to rise to his feet. Lancelot moved to help him, but he waved the knight away and retook his staff. One tap of its end against a rune on the floor sent a spark that ignited the entire circle. It glowed with eldritch power. The world shook again. A desperate quake shuddered through the hidden chamber, and then a 3-yard-long fissure split across the ceiling. "They've found us," Merlin said, urging Arthur into the circle. "You can't be serious. I couldn't defeat them now. How can I do it in the past? Why would anyone even believe me?" "Make them believe you, Arthur. Be the king I know you can be. My other self will understand." Before the surprising news even had a chance to sink in, dirt and crumbling stone rained over their heads and shoulders. Arthur dodged a larger stone and drew his blade as the enormous hand of Gaia reached through, bringing the rancid smell of rotting vegetation and earth. He prepared to lunge with Ascalon to intercept her reach for Lancelot. "You mustn't leave the circle," Merlin cried. "But this is larger than us, Arthur." With those words, Merlin raised both arms over his head, staff clutched in hand, radiating golden light. Then he thrust both forward. The force simultaneously struck and passed through Arthur. It shimmered through him and seized the magical circle in a triumphant display of sparks and arcing electrical bolts. Every inch of Arthur's body exploded with pain. The sword clattered to the ground at his feet, and the next seconds occurred in slow motion. Leaves and brittle branches fell from Gaia's earthen hand, victim to the furious strokes of Lancelot's blade. Vines and roots broke through the stone beneath the knight's feet and snared his legs. They needed him. They could never fend her off alone. Merlin fell to one knee at that moment, and all that supported him was the staff in his hand. The other palm pressed to his heart. Pain filled his ancient eyes, and what little power remained in his body fled as he sank to the floor. "Merlin!" Arthur's world turned to white as he heard the crunch of bone and Lancelot's dying scream. Chapter 1. Present Day. With both hands resting on the mezzanine rail overlooking the violet hour's lower level, Nimue breathed in the magical essence wafting through the air. She pulled in the pleasant burn and savored every second.